Northern Italy and Upper Central Italy consisted of a group of warring city-states: Milan, Florence, Pisa, Siena, Genoa, Ferrara, Mantua, Verona and Venice. They not only fought between themselves, but became embroiled in the tension between the papacy and the Holy Roman Emperor. Trade routes from France, Germany, the Low Countries, Egypt and Scandinavia flowed into the northern city-states via the ports of Genoa and Venice. Northern Italy enjoyed huge volumes of trade and benefited from rich agricultural land in the Po Valley. Medieval laws restricting trade were abolished. The Italian Renaissance, Rinascimento in Italian, means the rebirth, and this happened in northern Italy. Renaissance re-engaged with secularism, reason and individualism. This was a period of cultural revival when humanist scholars of literature, philosophy and history rediscovered the works of classical antiquity of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The Italian Renaissance reinvigorated thought, painting, architecture, sculpture, literature, music, philosophy, science, technology, and geographical exploration. The Renaissance flowered in the Florentine Republic. Florence developed economic and political power by providing banking services for European monarchs, developing the framework for capitalism and modern banking. The rise of the Medici family in Florence began with Giovanni de' Medici. They helped Florence become the banking centre of Europe. Florence dominated woolen textile production, importing raw materials from across Europe, combining them with dyes from the East to produce high-quality textiles. These textiles were in great demand in the Ottoman Empire. A new merchant and governing middle class emerged from the feudal model. The demand for luxury goods spiked, making tradesmen wealthy, and triggered an attitude of conspicuous consumption, where affluent families would display the symbols of wealth to reflect their good taste and status in society. Gian Galeazzo Visconti, ruler of Milan, sought to unite Italy by conquering neighbouring states, and he placed Florence under siege in 1402. Leonardo Bruni claimed Florence considered they were defending the classical Greek and antique Roman ideals of the Renaissance from the tyranny of the Visconti of Milan. In 1417, the papacy returned to Rome, a city of poverty and Roman ruins. Pope Nicholas V began a program of urban renewal from 1447. In this period, the papacy was heavily influenced by rich families like the Medici and the Borgias. The Aragon king, Alfonso I, conquered Naples in 1443 and was a patron of Renaissance artists such as Francesco Laurana, a sculptor who worked on Castelnuovo in Naples. Antonello da Messina was one of the first Italian adopters of oil painting. Jacopo Sanazzaro wrote the influential poem Arcadia, and Angelo Poliziano translated parts of Homer's Iliad and gave lectures on the works of Virgil. Constantinople fell in 1453 to the Ottoman Empire, a maritime rival in the Mediterranean. Florence, Milan and Venice, the dominant city-states on land, agreed a peace treaty soon after in 1454, which brought an unusual period of calm. Consequently, luxury goods from the east were now imported to Genoa, Pisa and Venice and resold again across Europe. The Republic of Venice had a navy of over 5,000 ships. The main naval city republics of Pisa and Genoa went into decline, leaving Venice the most powerful navy city-state in the 15th century. and Venice certainly had no issue trading with the rich Ottoman Empire. The Mediterranean trade routes enabled the transportation of major works of culture and knowledge to Renaissance Italy. Lost Greek classics were now brought to Italy by Byzantine scholars fleeing the Ottoman conquest of the Byzantine Empire. Renaissance scholars revived the ideas of ancient Roman Empire through Cicero, Horace, Sallust and Virgil. Also the works of the ancient Greek writers such as Aristotle, Homer and Plato were again accessible for the first time since the 4th century. The city-states had to carefully manage international affairs with the French and the Spanish. For example, the French king, Charles VIII, claimed the Kingdom of Naples, invaded Italy between 1494 and 1495, and this triggered the First Italian War. The rediscovery of the works of the Roman architect Vitruvius reintroduced the architectural principles of antiquity, and these would influence the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci with the Vitruvian Man. The Platoist philosopher Marsilio Ficino translated Plato's work into Latin, enabling more people to read it. At the same time, Aldus Manutius was printing books in Italian, Latin and Greek in Venice from 1490. His printed books enabled knowledge to become more widely distributed amongst the higher classes of society, and wealthy patrons wanted to be seen to invest heavily in building their libraries. Renaissance art and philosophy spread through the Vatican. Pope Sixtus IV ordered the construction of the famous Sistine Chapel. The popes were active leaders of the Papal States, participating in politics, power and war, as well as resisting the Protestant Reformation. The Church was also keen to challenge new Renaissance ideas which they believed went against established religious doctrine. In these occasions, they raised a charge of heresy, the trial of Galileo. Ancient Greek literary works, the historical works of Homer, the Greek dramatists Demosthenes and Thucydides only survived in the hands of Byzantine scholars. In 1469, Lorenzo de' Medici, Lorenzo the Magnificent, rose to power. He was a humanist and a patron of the arts, but already the trade empire was on the wane. The Mediterranean was no longer Europe's main trade route. Goods from the east were now beginning to land in Lisbon, Seville, Nantes, Bristol and London. Relations with the papacy deteriorated, and a plot in 1478 attempted to assassinate Lorenzo in the Pazzi conspiracy. Lorenzo survived, but his brother Giuliano died, and this triggered more violence with the papacy. Italian Renaissance art would transform European painting and sculpture. It was dominated by artists who introduced more realism and anatomical accuracy, as well as a greater respect of nature. Early Italian Renaissance art included the frescoes. Masaccio. He created the mathematically precise scenes in 3 dimensions of the Holy Trinity frescoes. By the late 15th century, the Renaissance ideals, art and culture were preeminent amongst the ruling classes. Towards the end of the period, the top artists and craftsmen were now wealthy, influential, and commanded hefty commissions. Donatello was a Florentine sculptor of the bronze David statue. Botticelli produced Primavera and the Birth of Venus. Leonardo da Vinci, amongst other things, produced Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. Raphael produced the Madonnas. Perugino's masterpiece is the delivery of the keys in the Sistine Chapel. Talking about the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo produced the ceiling, the creation of Adam and the Pietà. Titian produced Bacchus and Ariadne. Renaissance architects favoured grand, large domes. They used mathematical knowledge in their drawings, example being Baldassare Peruzzi. Italian Renaissance architecture was revolutionary, with exponents such as Brunelleschi, and he designed the dome of the Florence Cathedral. Leone Battista Alberti, whose Tempio Malatestiano in Rimini was an early example of a classical Renaissance building. His most important buildings were San Sebastiano and Sant'Andrea in Mantua. Andrea Palladio produced a number of buildings in Vicenza and Venice, which are recognised as World Heritage Sites. Bramante was charged with redesigning the St. Peter's Basilica. Join me for part 3. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video and subscribe so that others can see it. Click here for some more videos you may be interested in.